ingredients we're going to need for the fried bora is of course the bora, and what I've done is I've chopped the stems off of the bora and then sliced it into 1-inch strips. Once you slice it up, you want to wash it really well and then drain it until all the water gets off. Then I have a few potatoes that I've peeled and sliced up into very thin slices, so this way they could cook at the same rate of the bora. And I have it soaking in some water, so this way they wouldn't oxidize or get brown. I have some oil to help me fry up my ingredients, some salt to taste, a little bit of water just in case I need it to help the bora cook along the way. I have some sliced tomatoes, some sliced onion, some fine shrimps, and you can switch these out for any type of protein you want. You could also use regular shrimp if you wanted to. And I have some chopped garlic, I have some hot pepper, and some black pepper to taste. What I've done here is I've heated up a few tablespoons of vegetable oil at the bottom of my pot. Now when you're making fried bora, you want to make sure you use a nice heavy bottom pot for this, or else the bora can start to stick and then you'll have a little bit of a mess on your hands. So I've heated up the vegetable oil on a high heat, and I'm going in with my garlic and the hot pepper. And you just want to stir those around until they get nice and fragrant. It'll literally take just a few seconds. And at this point, we're going to go in with all of our chopped onions. And you want to stir those around. And I'm actually going to let these cook for about 1 to 2 minutes, or just until the onions start to get a nice golden brown color on the edges. Once you see a few golden brown bits start to form around the onions, it's time to go in with all of the dried shrimp. Now the reason why I add them in now is so this way they could get a nice little crisp on them, and we're going to start building up the flavor of this dish. These shrimp are going to saute with these onions and give the whole dish a really nice flavor. So I want to let these fry up for about a minute or two just so the shrimp can get a little bit of a crisp on them in that oil, and then we'll start adding in our other ingredients. After about 2 minutes, my shrimp has had a chance to crisp up and marry with all those flavors of the onions and the garlic and the hot pepper. And we're now going to go in with all of our chopped tomatoes. And we're going to let this cook until the tomatoes have disintegrated and cooked down a bit. That'll take about 4 to 5 minutes. Now, you might be asking yourself, why did I not just add everything into the hot oil at once, being that they're going to fry up together anyway? The reason for that is because you want to start building up the flavors of the dish. If you added all of the ingredients at once, what's going to happen is the dish is going to taste very one note. But if you add everything one at a time and you give them a chance to fry up really well, it's going to build up on the flavor of the dish and give you a really nice end product. Now, even with the simplest of dishes, especially with like this bora that I'm making, it's going to get a really nice flavor if you give it the time to cook and give each ingredient its time to shine in the dish. My tomatoes have been cooking in this mixture for about 5 minutes now, and they've melted beautifully. I wanted to mention that when I first put them into the pot, I added a little bit of salt just so it would help them melt a little faster. And at this point, we can start adding in our bora. So I'm going to take all of the bora that I have and just add it in. And once you add all of your bora in, it's time to add in all of the potatoes as well. These potatoes are going to cook at the same rate as the bora because we sliced them so thin, so you don't have to worry about them being raw in the end. And being that this is fresh bora, it's going to take a little longer for it to cook than if it was frozen. So once you get it stirred around, you also want to go in with a little bit more salt. I only added a little bit in the beginning to help those tomatoes cook, and I want to add a little bit more now. You want to be very cautious when you're adding in salt. I add salt as I go to build up the flavor, but you don't want to add too much or else you're going to have a salty product at the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this fry uncovered for about 5 to 10 minutes, or just until any liquids within this mixture evaporate, and then at that point we can add some more water inside, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. My bora's been frying on a medium heat now for 10 minutes, and as you guys can see, any water that was in this mixture has evaporated and has started to dry down a bit. So what I want to do now, just to help the bora and the potatoes cook, I want to go in with some water. I'm just adding in a few tablespoons of water, about 1/4 cup. You don't want to add too much because you don't want a gravy to this. You want to make sure that it's dry when it's done cooking. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to leave the heat on a medium heat, and I'm just going to let it cook until the bora is tender and the potatoes are cooked all the way through. And then I'm going to come back and show you guys what that looks like. So I allowed the bora to cook for about 20 minutes covered. Now this is going to depend totally on how fresh your bora was, whether it was frozen or not. But I allowed it to cook covered for about 15 minutes. I removed the cover, and any liquid that was left, I put this on a high heat and I allowed all of that liquid to dry off. Just now I added in my little bit of black pepper, and of course you're going to add that to taste. And at this point, you want to give this a final taste for salt as well as pepper and any hot pepper, so this way you can adjust all of your tastes. And what you're going to want to do at this point is cut off your heat, and you can go ahead and serve it up. Your bora is all done, and that's how quick and easy it is to make. Alright everyone, here is the finished bora with aloo and fine shrimp. Now if you guys enjoyed this recipe, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you aren't so yet, and make sure to comment down below and tell me what you guys would like me to make you next. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again with another one of my awesome recipes.